Hi and welcome to Yin. This class is especially designed to decompress the spine and to open up in the chest. So it's a really good class for anyone with back pain or for those of you that just feels like your chests are very tight at the front here and your shoulders are maybe rolling forwards. We're going to reset all of that and feel nice and spacious in our torso at the end of this. You will need a block for this class or anything that resembles a block. So once you have that, come to your mat. We're gonna start with this right away. So the block is gonna go up in between your shoulder blades here. So make sure that it sits quite high up here. So right underneath where your shoulder blades are finishing at the bottom. If it's too far down, it's sort of going to dig into your back and feel really uncomfortable. So once you find that space, release your torso over the block and then wiggle your shoulder blades together a little bit. Open up the arms to the side, palms facing up. The legs can stay here with the knees up. Maybe you want to bring the soles of the feet together into butterfly or stretching the legs out. And this is our first position. We're going to do a little bit of a breathing exercise while we're here. So for now, just close the eyes and let the body melt across the block. Just find your neutral breath here. Let the block take the weight of your shoulders and your upper back. So you don't have to hold any tension. We are fully surrendering the weight of our body down into the ground. Then we're gonna start to breathe a little deeper. I'm gonna move into a pranayama called 3-part breath. So we're going to start to draw the breath in through the nose and fill up the belly. Then fill up the ribs. And then fill up the chest all the way up to the top. And then we empty the opposite way. We empty from the chest, then the ribs, then the belly. And go again, filling up from the bottom to the ribs, to the chest and the top of the chest, emptying out slowly from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Keep going with this breath a few more times, filling up from the bottom to the top, just like you're pouring water into a glass, and then emptying from the top all the way to the bottom, like you are emptying the water out of the glass. And although we are drawing the breath quite deep here and controlled, we don't want to strain the breath. So breathe into a point where your lungs feel full and your body feels expanded, but not to the point where you feel like you're straining. And then very slowly let the air out, trying to make the exhale slightly longer than the inhale. Keep going a few more times here. Take your last deep breath in. Full breath out. Then gently bring the knees together if they have been into butterfly. And then just let yourself roll off to one side, tilting your body off the block. Grabbing the block from underneath you and then coming flat onto your back here. Grab a hold of the knees, give them a good squeeze into your chest. We're going to continue here into a hip stretch. So bring the right ankle across the left knee and thread your hands through that gap, or your right hand through the gap, to grab a hold of your left knee, and then gently pulling that left knee in towards the chest, finding a stretch across the right hip. Maybe you can feel this in your right inner thigh. It depends a bit on where we're tight. And feel the shoulders still heavy down onto the floor. If this is an uncomfortable position to hold here, you can always place this left sole of the foot onto a wall so that you can relax the arms if you are close to a wall. If you feel like you can go a bit further, you can hug the arms around the whole shape, clasp the hands together, and then get a little bit of a deeper fold here in the hip crease. And then again, closing the eyes if they're not already. Finding a deep breath. So it doesn't have to be that very controlled pranayama we did in the beginning. But still try to keep your focus on the breath coming in and the breath coming out. The focus here is to release into our positions by softening the muscles that is stretching, not by pushing or pulling our way deeper into the stretch. This position is really good for anyone who has lower back pain, as it stretches out the lower back, as well as the hip, which very often is connected in terms of strain and pain. If one of those places are tight, you're likely to feel pain in the other area. So let's say your lower back is tight, you might have hip pain. Your hips are really tight, you might have lower back pain. So doing a stretch like this that targets both of those areas of the body is really helpful to just get that release. Last breath in here. Maybe hug your legs a bit closer to you. And then let the air out slowly. Keep the shape of the legs, but release the left foot down to the floor. Open up the right arm. Shuffle the hips towards the right. Then hug your left knee back up to your chest, okay? So we're going to twist this shape so that the right sole of the foot is on the floor. I like to hold either my left knee here or my right ankle to support this shape. And we are definitely in a twist, but there is still this focus on stretching the hip. So the right knee is up towards the ceiling as much as that's possible, not reaching down towards the floor on the other side. And the shoulder blades are wide across the mat. And then again, let's close the eyes. Let's close the eyes and breathe. We have about 3.5 minutes in each position, so plenty of time to sink deeper. Plenty of time to breathe into the area that feels tight. Trying to, one breath at a time, release the tension that sits there. Let yourself surrender into gravity. Trying to stay present with your breath and the bodily sensations, not to rush off in your mind or start to plan the rest of your day. Imagine that right now this is the most productive thing you can do. Letting your mind rest, letting your body release. Taking your time to just slow down from the rush that is life. Every time your mind drifts off, come back to the breath, deepen the inhale and lengthen the exhale. So I'm going to try to keep the exhale just very slightly longer than the inhale. Just like in meditation, bringing yourself back to the present whenever you drift off into the past or the future. And then take one last breath here. Fully exhale and then release the shape. Just come onto your back. Find a long body stretch. Move the hips into center. Stretch your arms overhead. Stretch your toes away. And exhale to hug the knees back into your chest. Massage the lower back into the floor a little bit before we move to the other side. We're going to start by crossing the left ankle over the right knee for a reclined figure 4. And then threading that left arm through the gap, hugging the knee into the chest. And whatever variation you did before, if this is too tricky and you have a wall, place that foot on top onto the wall. so that your arms can relax. And if this feels like you need a little bit more, wrap your arms around the shape, fully clasp the hands to get this left leg a bit closer to your chest. And then closing the eyes. Now I know the arms are doing some work here, but see if you're holding tension in your neck and your shoulders. So the neck and the shoulders does not have to work. Heavy head onto the floor, or if you find that the floor is quite far away from you, you can put the back of your head onto a block for support, or a pillow if you have a pillow. Letting the shoulder blades release down to the floor as much as that's possible. And deepening the breath. See if you can really focus on softening the outer hip, the inner thigh. These are big muscle groups that does a lot of work for us throughout the day or a week or a lifetime, and tends to get really tense, tends to store a lot of unresolved stress, tends to store unresolved trauma. So be very patient with yourself. Whenever you're stretching your hips, it takes a while for your body to feel safe enough to start to release. Take one last deep breath in. Exhale, let go of the grip of the hands. Keep the legs where they are, but drop your right foot to the floor. Open the left arm out. Shift the hips to the left. So we do this to give our spine a bit more space in the twist. Then bring your right knee again up towards the chest. I like to either hold my knee here or my ankle here as I shift this shape towards the right side, planting my left sole of the foot onto the floor. And then softening the shoulders, keeping the left knee up towards the ceiling. Finding your slow breaths again. Close the eyes. Check in that your face is soft, your forehead, your eyebrows, eyelids gently resting shut. Feel your cheeks being soft, your lips and your jaw, the tip of the tongue resting at the roof of the mouth. And notice the breath coming in and out of the nostrils. Cool air on the way in and warm air on the way out. Take your last deep breath in. And exhale slowly. Release the shape. Stretch it out. Stretch your whole body long. Breath in. And hug the knees to your chest. Exhale. Massage the lower back by moving the knees side to side. We're going to come up to our hands and knees. So grab a hold behind of the knees. Let's do a little bit of rock and rolls here. So we want to massage the length of the spine from the top of the neck to the tailbone, top of the neck to the tailbone. Let's do it one more time. And then come all the way up to sit. Cross the legs. And come over onto hands and knees. Moving into Anahastasana, which is a heart melting pose, but with a twist. So move the hands forward, keep the hips stacked over the knees, and melt the heart and the forehead to the floor. So this is the standard position here, but we're gonna come up, twist the left arm underneath the right, and then put the left cheek on the floor and move your body into somewhere where you can feel your hips resting on the tops of your knees. So you're not straining to hold this position. You're purely just letting the hips stacked right over the knees rest there. And then you can melt the belly towards the thighs and find that nice little twist in the spine, and maybe even a stretch across your arm as it goes underneath your chest. And we have our minutes here. This is such a nice position to decompress the spine, as we allow the weight of the torso to move in the opposite direction. So instead of like when we're standing or sitting, the weight of our head and shoulders pushing, compressing the spine down into the lower back. Here we're reversing that, so we're taking all of that weight off and letting the weight melt from the lower back down to the floor. Imagine the vertebrae that sits from your tailbone and up towards the middle back separates gently here as you let yourself release and melt into this gentle back bend. Relax the belly. And then take your last breath in. Full breath out. Bend your right arm in so that you can come up. Let's come up onto hands and knees for a moment. Take an inhale through your cow pose. And exhale into your cat pose, curving the spine. Hold here for a bit. And then come to a neutral spine. We're gonna go back down for a heart melting pose. Twisting the right arm under, putting the right cheek to the mat. Again, finding that nice stacked position with the hips right over the knees. Melting the belly to the thighs. And letting your spine fall down from the hips like a waterfall, down from your tailbone, lower back, mid back, upper back. And just let the energy flow that way from the hips and the lower back, down your spine towards the top of the neck. Feel the ribs expanding sideways with the inhale and the belly expanding outwards, and then everything coming back into center with a slow, controlled and soft breath out. Stay with me here, just a couple more breaths. Bring your mind back if it drifted off. And then take your last breath in. And full breath out. Bend your left arm. Come up onto your hands and knees. Breathe in for a cow pose, arch the back. And curve. Come to a neutral spine. We're going to come down to lay on the belly for a Sphinx pose. So here, shoulders back and down. Now this is also a bit of an active pose, especially in the arms. But you can, if you have your block, use the block for a bit of support here by the ribs, if that feels comfortable. You can also use a bolster or a pillow. And then stacking yourself up on the elbows, rolling the shoulders back and down. Letting the hips be heavy on the floor. Keeping the shoulders back so that the collarbones are open. Now, because this pose takes a little bit more effort, see if you're slowly sinking into this turtleneck position and keep reinforcing the shoulders back and down, crown of the head reaching up. So we don't want to bend the head back either. Keeping the chin slightly tucked and the back of the neck long. And then slow breathing. Of course, if you have the space, you can come into seal where the hands goes a bit wider on the mat, and then you stretch your elbows. Just make sure your hands are in a place where your hips can be on the floor, so we don't want to lift the hips off the floor here. And if this pinches anywhere in your back, come back down to Sphinx. We don't want to push into the joints. Remember, we want to create space, not compress. So even if you are in seal, think length before the depth of the posture. Length between the tailbone out through the crown of the head. If you did choose to go to seal but feel like it's been enough in this position, you can always drop your elbows back down, reinforcing the long neck and the shoulders down. Take a last breath in and out. Let yourself melt to the floor, elbows wide, forehead to the back of your hands. Shake the hips a little bit from side to side. Then place the hands by your ribs and push your hips back to your heels. Bring the knees all the way together. Sit the hips onto the heels. Reaching the arms back, palms facing up, and then forehead down to the floor for a closed knee child's pose. And this is where we're gonna hang out for the next 3 minutes and so. Let the weight of your torso really melt over the legs. Feel the weight of the hips melting to the heels. The weight of the shoulders and the head melting over the knees. And then in this position, the shoulders are allowed to just flop forwards, stretching in between the shoulder blades. I know the breath can feel a little bit compressed here. So just take the depth that you can, and don't worry too much about them being the deepest they can be. See if you can be completely still in your body. Try not to fidget around a lot, just allowing your body to really relax in this one position. Really get the most benefit that it can without you coming in and out of the position. That way we can also focus our mind a bit better to the breath and allowing the breath to breathe in space and out tension. Take one last breath here. Exhale, start to roll up the spine slowly to a seated position. Let's just reach the arms up overhead. Deep breath in. And then bring the hands to heart center. Exhale. We're going to come to sit on our butt for Halasana. And if Halasana is really tricky for you, definitely bring the block to the back so that your toes can come to the block if they can't reach the floor. Or you can even bring the feet up onto a couch or a chair. Otherwise, roll down and get any ponytail out of the way so it's not in the way of the alignment of your neck. And then reach the legs up and over. Support your hips with your hands. Shuffle the shoulder blades together. You can clasp the hands and let the arms rest on the floor. Just make sure you're not straining for that to be the case. It's better to keep the hands on the hips for support if you feel you can relax a bit more. Now this is in theory a very similar position to what we just did before, but we're obviously inverted here. So the weight of the hips makes it a little bit deeper because the hips are a lot heavier than the shoulders. So now we're getting a bit more of a pull across the back. Decompressing the spine, creating space in between the vertebrae. And then find your breath in the back body here. The front body might again feel a bit restricted for intake or for expansion. So breathing into the side ribs and into your back. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can bend the knees and let them drop next to your ears. And if you do that, you can also reach the arms around the knees and give yourself a hug around. Going into full snail mode. And of course, like I said before, if you went deeper, but then after a little while feels like it's too much, then you just go back to the other option, the more mild option, instead of coming all the way out of the position. And then take your last breath in and out. Release the hands and stretch the knees if you went into Deaf Man's pose. Plant the palms flat on the floor and let yourself roll down slowly, slowly, very slowly back down one vertebra at a time if you can. So we're using the core. And then when the legs stacks over the hips, bend the knees, give them a hug for a moment. Let's ease out of this position as it can feel quite intense sometimes to get out of. Have a few breaths with the knees towards the belly. And then you can release the the feet to the floor. Have a few breaths here with the soles of the feet on the floor and the knees up to the sky. sometimes stay in that stretch for a long time, especially if it's the first time you do it. It might feel quite intense to come out of it. So if that's you, to stay where you are, maybe come into constructive rest, where you bring the feet really far apart, so to the edges of the mat, and you let the knees drop inwards, and you just have a moment here to let the energy settle in your body. If you feel okay, we're just gonna windscreen wipe our knees for a moment. So bring the arms out like cactuses. Bring the feet to the outer edges of the mat, and then we're just gonna let the knees fall over to the right, fall over to the left. 2 more times to each side, fall over to the right, over to the left, to the right, and to the left. We're gonna go over to the right again and stay there this time. Let the knees just drop to the right. If you can place your right foot on top of your left knee for a little bit of an extra pull down on that knee. Maybe you want to reach your arms all the way overhead, grab a hold of your left wrist or your left elbow. Just a few breaths here. Finding the breath in the front body again, now that we're not crunching our bellies. So full breath, expanding the belly, and then softening the belly with the exhale. 2 more breaths here. And release the arms, release the legs back up to center, over to the left. Same thing here, letting the legs or the knees just drop over, or you can hook the left foot over the right knee, keeping the chest open. And then for a little bit more, stretch the arms overhead, grab your right wrist or maybe your right elbow. Deep breaths here. Last breath in. Full breath out. Release the arms, the knees. Come back up to center. Grab your block. We're going to come into a passive back bend here. So the block goes underneath the sacrum, so the wide bony parts of the hips. They should feel quite supported, so that if you lift your legs off the floor, your hips are stacked right on top of the block. And from here, this is gonna be a back bend. So your choice if the block is on the lower setting. Maybe if you have a bit more mobility, you can bring it up to the medium setting. And then let the arms go over your head, stretching the legs out if that feels okay. And if this feels pinchy in your back, either bend in your knees again or take the block down to the lowest setting. And then letting the body melt down to the floor on either side of the block. So the legs are heavy on one side and the torso is heavy on the other side. completely passive. The block is supporting all of the weight of the hips. So we can just drop the hips into the block and let the body flow down on either side like a waterfall. Deep breaths. Last one here. Exhale, start to bend the knees back in if they were straight. Bring the hands down by your side, palms down. Activate your glutes here to lift the hips off the block very gently, and then remove the block to the side. Come down onto your back. Maybe give your legs a hug into the chest. Little side to side motion. And then come into a happy baby for a moment. We're not here for long, just to reset the spine a little bit after a long back bend. Deep breath. Exhale. And then release the legs down for a Shavasana. Set yourself up here to just be still for the same amount of time we've held our stretches. So don't skip this part of practice. It is the most important part. This is where our bodies gets to process. This is where the practice gets to settle in the body. So treat this position just as important as all the other ones we have done. And give yourself 3 minutes of undisturbed attention to the sensations of the body. Always coming back to the breath when the mind drifts off. I'll be right here with you to the end, so I will let you know when the time is up. just enjoy this quiet time for yourself. Feeling the body sink into the floor, one exhale at a time. Come back to your breath if your mind has drifted off, and take a deeper inhale. No longer exhale. Start to move fingers and toes gently, waking up the edges of the body, ankles and wrists. Go really slow and with intention here. We don't want to very acutely awaken the body after such a deep practice. From here, if you want to stretch, you can reach the arms overhead. And then hug the knees into your chest once again. Give yourself a tight squeeze. Rolling over to one side. So reach the right arm or the left over your head. So when you roll over, your head is resting on your upper arm. Just have a moment on your side. And then use your hands to push yourself up to a seated position. Resting the hands in your lap, finding a nice tall spine. If you want to sit on a block here, so that you don't have to tense your hip flexors, feel free to do that. We are going to sit here for a couple of minutes. And I want you to allow yourself to just be. So rarely do we allow ourselves to just be. And I know right now you're thinking, practice is over, I want to get going, I want to do things. I know the feeling. So this is a challenge for you, from me to you and to myself, to take 2 minutes to just be. Feel your body. Feel the ground you're sitting on. Feel the space around you, the air touching your skin, the clothes touching your skin. Feel the hair on your head. the breath in and out of your nostrils. Cold with the inhale and warm with the exhale. Come back to your breath. Deep breath in, fill up the belly, the ribs, the chest. Exhale through the mouth. Bring the hands to heart center. Bowing the head to the fingertips in gratitude to ourselves, the practice, and everyone else in this space, in their own houses, with their own friends and family, for practicing with us. Namaste.